You know how sometimes tension just builds up? Like between groups of friends, maybe, or sports teams. Everyone's got their allies, secret plans,
Uh-huh.
and you feel like something big is about to happen.
Yeah, you can sense it.
Well, imagine that, but scaled way up.
Mm.
Like entire nations in the early 1900s. Huge armies, global plans.
Yeah.
That's kind of the pressure cooker that led to World War One.
That's a really good way to think about it. It wasn't just one single thing, was it? It was more like a whole bunch of factors all swirling together, creating this intense atmosphere.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. We're going to unpack those key factors
Mm.
based on the great historical info you shared.
Okay.
Our mission is basically to get a clear picture of what led up to the First World War.
Right. We'll be looking at the main ideas, the core concepts that historians point to, trying to understand how things escalated, from those underlying tensions to the actual war breaking out.
Yeah, not just a list of facts, but connecting the dots. We want those aha moments like, wow, that's why that happened. Okay, so first up on the list, militarism.
Mm.
Sounds kind of obvious, maybe.
Yeah.
Buildup of military stuff.
Well, yes, but it was more than just having soldiers. Militarism was this deep belief, really, that military strength was like essential for national greatness, for security, everything.
So it became a competition.
Absolutely a fierce competition, almost like an arms race. Countries were scrambling to build the biggest armies, the best navies, the latest weapons.
And Germany was a big player here.
Oh, definitely. Germany was rapidly expanding its military, especially its navy, and that made other countries, particularly Britain, really nervous.
Britain relied on its navy,
Huh.
right? Island nation and all that.
Exactly. So Germany building this massive fleet felt like a direct challenge, just fed into this growing climate of, well, suspicion and fear.
Because if everyone's armed to the teeth,
The chance of someone actually using those weapons goes way up. Everyone felt they were just defending themselves, but it looked aggressive to everyone else. A dangerous cycle.
okay, so that's militarism. This massive arms buildup. What's next? Imperialism.
Right. Imperialism. This was all about the big, powerful European countries grabbing colonies, expanding their empires across the globe, Africa, Asia.
Like a land grab, but worldwide. For resources and power.
Precisely. Resources, new markets for their goods, strategic locations, and yeah, just plain old national prestige, showing off their power on the world stage.
And this caused clashes.
Oh, constantly. They were bumping into each other's ambitions all over the place, competing for the same territories, the same influence.
Any specific examples that really highlight this? How it fueled the tension back in Europe?
Yeah, the Moroccan crises are a good example. Germany challenged France's influence in Morocco, not once, but twice. These created these really tense diplomatic standoffs.
So like arguments over faraway lands almost started a war in Europe.
Pretty much. It showed how these imperial rivalries were directly connected to the rising tensions between the great powers in Europe itself. It added another layer of hostility.
Got it. So arms race? Check. Competition for empires? Check. Now, nationalism, that's a word we hear a lot. What did it mean back then?
Nationalism then was intense, super intense pride and loyalty to your own nation, often coupled with a belief that your nation was superior to others.
Which sounds okay, maybe, but you said intense.
Yeah, it could be positive, that sense of identity. But in the lead up to the war, it often took on this really aggressive edge. Nations wanting to prove themselves, assert their dominance.
And how did that cause problems, specifically?
Well, one huge issue was within the big empires. You had all these different ethnic groups, right? And many of them started feeling they were distinct nations. They wanted independence.
Ah, so groups wanting to break away from the empires they were part of.
Exactly. Think about the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Huge multi-ethnic place. You had lots of Slavic people, Czechs, Slovaks, Croats, Serbs living under Austrian or Hungarian rule. And many of them, especially in the Balkans, were feeling strong nationalist urges.
And Serbia was involved in this.
Very much so. Serbia was an independent Slavic nation, and it had this dream of uniting all the South Slavs into one big country, a greater Serbia.
Which would mean taking territory
From Austria-Hungary, primarily, because lots of those Slavs lived within the Austro-Hungarian borders. So Serbian nationalism was seen as a direct threat by Vienna.
Okay, so that's a major clash right there. And it wasn't just Austria-Hungary, right? The Ottoman Empire, too.
Yes, the Ottoman Empire, often called the sick man of Europe by then, was also facing nationalist movements from Greeks, Bulgarians, and others wanting independence. This whole desire for self-determination was really shaking up the old empires.
Right, destabilizing. Okay, let's switch gears slightly to the alliances. The Triple Alliance. Who was in that club?
The main players in the Triple Alliance were Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. It was basically a defensive pact, meaning they promised to help each other out if one of them got attacked by another major power, like France or Russia.
So like a we've got your back kind of deal.
Pretty much Team Germany, you could say.
And the danger there was?
The danger was that a fight between just two countries could suddenly pull in all their allies. A small conflict could escalate really, really quickly into a massive war.
Okay, so that's one team. Who was on the other side? The Triple Entente.
The Triple Entente was the understanding between France, Russia, and Great Britain. It wasn't quite as formal, maybe, as the Triple Alliance, especially initially, but they agreed to cooperate and support each other, particularly if faced with aggression from the alliance members.
So France and Russia were definitely allied, and
Yeah.
Britain was friendly, loosely connected.
Britain's position was a bit more complex, but the general understanding grew stronger over time. Essentially, yes, you had these two major blocs facing off against each other.
Europe divided into two armed camps. That sounds precarious.
Extremely. It created this rigid structure where diplomacy became harder and the risk of a chain reaction was much higher. One spark could ignite the whole thing.
Okay, let's zoom in on Austria-Hungary again. We mentioned the ethnic tensions, the fear of Serbia. What else was going on there?
Well, it was this sprawling old empire ruled by the elderly Emperor Franz Joseph. It felt perhaps a bit shaky, a bit worried about its future, especially with all this nationalism bubbling up.
And they saw Serbia as the main threat to holding it all together.
Very much so. That idea of Greater Serbia was terrifying to them. They feared losing their southern provinces and maybe that inspiring other groups to break away too. The whole empire could unravel.
And the heir to the throne was important here.
Yes, the heir was Archduke Franz Ferdinand. He actually had some ideas about maybe giving the Slavic populations more rights, trying to reform the empire, but he was still the heir to this empire that felt very threatened by Serbian nationalism.
Okay, and Serbia itself, we know their big goal: unite the Slavs.
Yeah, they were ambitious, fiercely independent, and saw themselves as the leaders of the South Slavs. They had a really tense, hostile relationship with Austria-Hungary.
Because Austria-Hungary stood in the way of their dream.
Exactly. And there were Serbian nationalist groups, some secret societies even, actively working against Austrian rule in places like Bosnia, which Austria-Hungary had annexed. It was a real powder keg situation in the Balkans.
Which leads us, inevitably, to Archduke Ferdinand again. His assassination.
Yes. June 28th, 1914, in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia. He and his wife were assassinated by a young Bosnian Serb nationalist, Gavrilo Princip.
And this was the spark, the absolute trigger.
Historians almost universally point to this as the immediate trigger, yes. It wasn't the only cause, we've seen all the underlying factors, but this event set the wheels in motion for war.
Because it gave Austria-Hungary the excuse they felt they needed.
It gave them the pretext, yes. They saw it as proof of Serbia's threat and decided it was time to crush Serbian nationalism once and for all.
But they were worried about Russia stepping in to protect Serbia.
Right. Correct. Russia saw itself as the protector of the Slavic peoples. Austria-Hungary knew that attacking Serbia might mean war with Russia.
Which is where the blank check comes in. What was that?
Austria-Hungary turned to its main ally, Germany, for support, and Germany gave them what historians call the blank check.
Meaning
Germany essentially said, do whatever you think you need to do about Serbia and we'll back you up no matter what, even if it means war with Russia. Full, unconditional support.
wow. That's a huge promise. Did that make Austria-Hungary bolder?
Absolutely. That German backing gave Austria-Hungary the confidence to take a really hard line. They issued an incredibly harsh ultimatum to Serbia.
A list of demands.
Yes, a list of demands designed to be almost impossible for Serbia to accept fully, particularly points that violated Serbian sovereignty.
And Serbia's response?
Serbia actually agreed to most of the demands, surprisingly, but they couldn't accept everything. And for Austria-Hungary, egged on by Germany, it wasn't enough.
Which brings us to the last step: mobilization.
Mobilization. This is the massive, complex process of getting your army ready for war, calling up reserves, moving troops to the borders, preparing supplies. It's a huge undertaking.
And once Austria-Hungary didn't get the full agreement from Serbia,
Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia and began mobilizing its army.
and then the dominoes really started to fall.
Exactly. Russia felt it had to support Serbia, so began mobilizing its massive army. Germany saw Russian mobilization as a direct threat, so Germany mobilized and declared war on Russia.
And France was allied with Russia, so
So Germany declared war on France too, planning to knock France out quickly before dealing with Russia, the Schlieffen Plan. And to attack France, Germany invaded neutral Belgium,
Which brought Britain in.
which brought Britain in as they had pledged to defend Belgian neutrality. And suddenly, within just a few weeks of the assassination, all the major powers of Europe were at war.
Wow. So when you put it all together, the militarism, this arms race,
Creating fear and suspicion,
the imperialism, fighting over colonies,
rivalries,
the aggressive nationalism, wanting independence or dominance,
shaking up empires and fueling ambitions,
and the rigid alliance system, locking everyone together,
making escalation almost certain.
and the specific flashpoint between Austria-Hungary and Serbia.
The powder keg in the Balkans?
Then the assassination provides the spark.
Yep.
Germany's blank check gives the green light,
Removes the brakes.
and mobilization becomes this unstoppable train.
Making war virtually unavoidable. It's this complex web, isn't it? Long-term pressures meeting short-term decisions and crises.
It really is a sobering reminder of how things can spiral. Okay, so just to wrap our heads around this, maybe some things for our listeners to chew on.
Good idea.
Like, can you put in your own words the difference between that military buildup, militarism, and that intense national pride, nationalism? How are they different but connected?
Yeah, good question. And how did that competition for empires, for colonies overseas, actually make things worse between the countries back in Europe?
Right. And why were those alliances, the Triple Alliance, the Triple Entente, such a big deal? How did they turn a local problem into a huge one?
Definitely. Thinking about Austria-Hungary and Serbia, what was their specific beef? Why was their conflict so central?
And that blank check from Germany, why was that single promise so incredibly important in the sequence of events?
What role did mobilization play? Why was it so hard to stop once it started?
And, the obvious one maybe, but what event is usually seen as the immediate trigger, the spark that lit the fuse for World War I?
Thinking through those connections really helps clarify how it all happened.
Yeah, any aha moments for you listening, surprising connections you noticed. And maybe what else do you wonder about? What further questions pop into your head about how this all went down?
Exploring those questions is what makes history fascinating.
Absolutely. Well, we hope this deep dive gave you a clearer sense of the complex road to the First World War. It's definitely a heavy topic, but understanding it is so important.
It really is. It shows how interconnected the world was even then, and how decisions made by leaders, fueled by these big trends, can have just massive, devastating consequences.
History isn't just about memorizing stuff. It's about understanding why things happened and how it still shapes our world. So keep digging, keep asking questions.
Definitely. Until next time.
Take care.